What if I told you that everything you see, everything you touch, everything you know to be real is nothing more than an elaborate story? A story told to you by the most convincing and sometimes deceptive storyteller in the universe. What if I told you that this storyteller lives right between your ears? The universe is far stranger and far more dangerous than you could ever imagine. Not because of black holes or distant warring galaxies, but because the very tool you use to perceive it is constantly editing, rewriting, and sometimes completely fabricating your reality. You trust your eyes. You trust your memories. But should you? What you are about to discover may change how you see the world and yourself forever. Our journey begins not in the cold vacuum of space, but in the warm, dark confines of your own skull. Here, a 3-pound mass of tissue, your brain, performs a miracle every second of every day. It takes chaotic streams of information, photons striking your retina, vibrations in the air pressure against your skin, and weaves them into a seamless, coherent experience we call reality. It's a masterpiece of biological engineering. But this process is not a perfect recording. It is an interpretation, an act of creation. Your brain is not a passive window to the world. It is an active artist painting a picture that it thinks you need to see. Have you ever been so focused on something that you failed to notice the obvious? You're searching frantically for your keys only to find them sitting right there on the counter in plain sight. This isn't just a simple oversight, it's a profound clue about how your brain constructs reality. Psychologists Daniel Simons and Christopher Chabrice designed a now famous experiment. They asked participants to watch a video of two teams, team in white shirts, team in black, passing basketballs. The task was simple. Count the passes by the team in white. It demands concentration. Most people get the count right and feel accomplished. Then comes the twist. After the video, the experimenter asks, "Did you see the gorilla?" Confusion. The video is played again without instructions. There it is. Unmistakable. Gorilla walks into the middle of the game. Gorilla pauses. Gorilla thumps its chest. Gorilla walks out of frame. It's on screen for 9 seconds. How is this possible? The answer, inattentional blindness. When attention is tied to a task, like counting passes, the brain filters out other input. Your eyes may have seen the gorilla, photons hit your retina, but your brain cut it from the story. For you in that moment, the gorilla did not exist. This experiment reveals a startling truth. We experience the world as attention directs us. Your reality is a narrow spotlight, not a full recording. Our senses are the gateways to reality. We trust them implicitly. But what if they could be tricked? What if your brain could be made to feel a presence that isn't there? In a lab in Switzerland, neuroscientist Olaf Blank and his team set out to do just that. They created an ingenious setup involving a robotic arm. A participant would stand and move their own finger, and a robot behind them would perfectly mimic the movement, touching their back in the exact same spot, at the exact same time. The brain quickly understands this connection. I am causing that sensation. The sensation feels normal, expected. Then the scientists introduced a tiny delay, a delay of just a few hundred milliseconds between the participant's movement and the robot's touch on their back. The effect was immediate and deeply unsettling. The brain's logic broke down. The sensation on the back no longer felt like their own touch. Instead, participants reported a bizarre and creepy feeling. They felt the distinct presence of another person in the room, standing behind them, touching them. Some became so unnerved they had to stop the experiment. They felt a ghost, a shadowy figure that their mind had conjured to explain the sensory mismatch. This experiment reveals something profound about how our brain understands our own bodies. This isn't a supernatural event, it's a neurological one. It's a ghost in the machine of the mind born from a simple timing error in the brain's circuits. We think of our memories as a library of our past, a collection of books we pull from the shelf to relive a moment exactly as it happened. But what if that library is run by a fiction writer? What if the books are constantly revised, chapters added, chapters erased without your knowledge? This is the unsettling reality Elizabeth Loftus exposed with the misinformation effect. Your memory is not a recording, it is a reconstruction, and it's frighteningly easy to change. Loftus showed people footage of a car accident. Afterwards, she asked a critical question with a subtle wording change. Some were asked about how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other. Smashed, contacted, hit, bumped, collided. The word choice dramatically altered memories. Those who heard smashed estimated much higher speeds. 1 week later they were asked, "Did you see any broken glass?" There was no broken glass. Yet the smashed group, more than twice as many falsely remembered broken glass. A single violent verb had caused invented details consistent with that idea. Their memories were permanently altered by one word. Your brain is a master map maker. It creates, these intricate maps of your body, of the space around you, of social hierarchies, pretty much of everything you need to navigate your world. These maps are essential for survival. But what happens when the map becomes distorted? What happens when the brain's representation of reality no longer matches reality itself? For some, this leads to one of the most baffling conditions known to neuroscience: phantom limb syndrome. An amputee might lose an arm but continue to feel it with astonishing clarity. They can feel an itch on a hand that isn't there, or a painful cramp in fingers that have long since been removed. The origin of this phenomenon lies in the brain's body map, specifically the somatosensory cortex. This strip of brain tissue contains a detailed point-for-point representation of your entire body. When a limb is amputated, the part of the cortex that was dedicated to it doesn't just go silent, it becomes in a sense a restless ghost. Neuroscientist V.S. Ramachandran developed a brilliantly simple tool to treat the painful cramps that often plague these phantom limbs: the mirror box. The patient places their existing hand into one side of the box, and their phantom limb into the other. A mirror placed in the middle creates the visual illusion that they are looking at their missing limb. The relief can be, honestly, instantaneous and profound. The illusion is so powerful that it actually rewrites the brain's corrupted body map. Have you ever heard your name called in an empty house? Or the faint sound of music from a silent room? These auditory hallucinations are surprisingly common. For most, they are fleeting and harmless. But for some, they are a constant, tormenting reality. This brings us to the strange and tragic case of a man known in medical literature as Mr. H. In the early 1980s, Mr. H was involved in a car accident that left him completely deaf. His ears could no longer transmit sound to his brain. The world for him fell silent. Weeks after the accident, Mr. H started to hear music. It wasn't a memory. It was vivid, complex, utterly unstoppable. He heard symphonies, pop songs, hymns. They played on a loop 24 hours a day. He couldn't turn it off. The silence had been replaced by a phantom orchestra that only he could hear. Neurologists call this musical ear syndrome. It's a form of auditory hallucination that often occurs after the onset of deafness. The brain, deprived of the external sounds it expects to receive, decides to create its own. The auditory cortex, starved of input, begins to fire spontaneously. It pulls fragments of musical memories, and it weaves them into a ceaseless concert. This is a powerful example of the brain's abhorrence of a vacuum. When a sensory stream is cut off, the brain doesn't just accept the silence, it tries to fill the void. Your brain performs a constant, delicate balancing act. On one hand, it needs to be open to new information from the outside world. On the other, it needs to protect you from being overwhelmed by a flood of meaningless sensory data. It achieves this with a complex system of filters and gates. One of the most important of these guardians is a process called sensory gating. It's your brain's bouncer, deciding which information gets into the VIP lounge of your consciousness, and which gets turned away at the door. It's the reason you can focus on a conversation in a noisy restaurant, filtering out the clatter of plates and the chatter of other tables. This guardian is crucial for a stable sense of reality. But in some individuals, particularly those with conditions like schizophrenia, this gate is broken. The bouncer has fallen asleep. Suddenly, everything gets in. The hum of the fluorescent lights is as loud as a person's voice. The pattern on the carpet writhes and moves. The floodgates of perception are thrown open, and the world becomes a chaotic, terrifying whirlwind of unfiltered sensation. The mind can no longer distinguish between what is important and what is trivial, what is real and what is a misinterpretation of a signal. This breakdown of sensory gating is believed to be a key reason for the profound hallucinations and delusions experienced in psychosis. The brain, unable to filter the incoming noise, starts trying to find patterns in the chaos. It connects unrelated events and imbues them with profound, often paranoid meaning. Sanity, in a way, is the art of selective ignorance. We are protected from the true, raw, chaotic nature of the sensory world by this neurological guardian. We have journeyed to the edge of perception and peered into the abyss. We have seen how our attention can make us blind to a gorilla in our midst, and how our brains can invent ghosts to explain a sensory glitch. We've learned that our memories are not stone tablets but clay, easily molded by a single word. The brain will create phantom limbs, phantom music, phantom imposters, all in a desperate attempt to create a coherent story from confusing or absent information. The universe inside your head is a place of wonder but also of profound illusion. The storyteller in your mind is both your greatest ally and a potential traitor. It builds your world, protects you with filters, gives you a stable sense of self. But its loyalty is to coherence, not to truth. It will lie, confabulate, invent, doing whatever it takes to present a narrative that makes sense, even if that narrative is a terrifying fiction. The line between reality and illusion is not a solid wall, it is a thin, permeable membrane, and we are all walking along it every moment of our lives. We are all living inside a story. The author is brilliant, powerful,